Welcome to Myofascial Magic in Action podcast. And I'm here now with my very dear friend and colleague, Paul Thornley. Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
Hi, Joanne. Absolutely marvellous.
We're very excited because in October this year, on the first weekend, we're going to be live in person with an already almost full workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be doing 2 whole days in Holland with Luce and Mika.
Mm.
And there's all information about it underneath this episode, and we're putting them in the show notes. We just want to invite anybody who's around to come and share in our enthusiasm. And of course, we would say, come and join us in our workshop, but we're sort of wanting to share why it is so special to be in person. What does it mean to you, Paul?
There's nothing like live teaching and live interaction with equally excited people and learning about a topic that we're also passionate about. And for me personally, it's where I thrive the most, is interacting with like-minded colleagues as we explore what we think we understand and why it matters how we understand the topic of fascia.
But it's more than just understanding the topic of fascia, isn't it? Because it's by no means a theory-based workshop. We need a bit of theory to sort of, I think of it like Bunting, that you have to nail it to the wall and you have to have the flags hanging just to get people to be in the right kind of shape. But it's actually all about not just putting it into practice like a method, because it isn't like a method.
No.
It's about expressing each individual person's particular movement signature. And you're a genius at that, because I've watched you in a class with 35, 40 people. I remember in a lawn in Dubai where we were teaching together. And I literally just watched you treat every single person as if they were getting a one-to-one. And it was awesome. So how are you planning to do that?
Well, likewise, like everybody is uniquely formed by themselves, and they've got their own personality to go with their own shape and their own bias to certain movement styles and different exercises of preference. And they really do animate the fascia we're talking about. Fascia is the very unique fabric we're formed from and how we've developed within, so that we can express our personalities in motion. So I find it a right joy, because you never know who's going to be there. Most people we've met online many times, but to be in person and see the different shapes and sizes and the different styles of movements that are going to appear in front of us, it really opens the door of exploration, because it really challenges how I guide them. And I love that opportunity to help people move better with the shape that they previously took for granted, quite frankly.
It's brilliant. And also it generates so much vitality. And this was one of the things that I wanted to share with our listeners. And that is, movement is not an intellectual process.
No.
And I mean, you and I, between us, we have, decades. I have decades of yoga. You have decades of karate and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the martial arts. You have all your time in the army, learning very formal kinds of movement like marching. And then your Pilates is just one of the top instructor trainers in the world. It's an absolute privilege. And I also get to be a master trainer in some of the more of the esoteric practices, what I call the stillness practices, because if you can't counterbalance that movement with stillness, it isn't a process of ticking boxes, learning a repertoire, pressing repeat. It doesn't work like that in life.
No.
And of course, we know the fascia has both its physical and its metaphysical aspects, and you can only really incorporate them when you do it. Doing does it, right?
Doing does it. But it's like they say, fascia has an identity crisis. Like, I heard it, I read it online. I went, wow, that's a great statement.
Jill Miller. Jill Miller
really brilliant statement, because people have a very different explanation of what they believe fascia to be. Likewise, they have the same opinion about their movement. It's very confusing as what is beneficial, what is healthy, what is appropriate, what is stimulating, what's inappropriate, and everything in between all of those words. But the fact of the matter is, movement doesn't lie. It really reflects your mood, your attitude, your intention. It's brilliant to watch how somebody thinks they move and what they think they're achieving. And when you can guide them to that actual intention, they find a different route, or they find an opportunity to avoid obstacles they naturally create. And then there's a sense of ease and like a joy at being much more successful in movement. And that's what I love doing, is finding the success in movement, because it should be playful and exploratory, not linear and formatted and conformative, which all too often our exercise protocols are based around.
I know. And we do sometimes upset some of our students in our courses because we won't give them a protocol. We teach them to design protocols. And you have the most brilliant, and I mean brilliant metaphor, which is we're not teaching you to cook. You're already trained. And we deal with so many people who have been working the most brilliant classes for years and years and years, and something inside them knows something's missing. And if that resonates for you, come and play with us because we know you can cook. We know you're brilliant at cooking. No one's judging your genius. What we're giving you are the special spices and herbs and seasonings and magic that takes you from a cook to a master chef.
Correct.
And it really does. I mean, our students don't leave, right?
Well, you watch the transformation of these instructors that are already very competent. They just feel a bit lost, or they're a bit like, if you like, they've lost their enthusiasm because they've been doing the same thing so often repetitively for decades. And then they realize that they just missed this little tinkle in their eye. And the moment you introduce these new ingredients, this new way of seeing and appreciating movement, then all of a sudden they already are more than capable. They just have to be brave enough to dive in and be more creative with their expression and their cueing style. And what comes out is a masterclass of cueing physiology rather than cueing repertoire and sequences. And that translates then into what they see and what's heard by the participants. So now everybody benefits. The atmosphere in the room changes, and everybody leaves with a lot more sense of purposefulness. And then that repeats itself week on week. So to be in the room on this particular occasion, I cannot wait, because it's a room of maybe 30 people almost we're at that we get to interact with and we get to influence, and then they get to go and share it with their various communities around Europe. It's awesome.
It's more than awesome. And I just want to say huge thank you to Mika and Luce and all of you, you know who you are getting tickets to make sure that you're in Holland for that weekend. And I'm going to give you the exact dates right now, which are the 4th and 5th of October 2025. And it's going to be all day on both days.
Yep.
And you know what we're like. We'll be there on the Saturday night as well, having refreshments with everybody and just spending time answering questions that are outside of class, because people always want to come up and say, oh, well, this is my unique situation and this is mine. And we love that. We love that. We all grow with that because we're learning while we're teaching, right?
Correct. We're all learning together. And that's what's the beauty. It's no mean feat to put one of these workshops together where everybody can gather at the same time in a particular venue. Luce and Mika have worked incredibly hard to bring this together. Of course, we're so delighted and proud to be invited to their hometown and to get to share time with them. So we're in no rush. I rarely wear a watch. So, I mean, I know we do have a start and a finish time, but we're likely to exceed that. People that worked with me before know I will keep going while people keep talking, interacting. We'll keep teaching and sharing and learning until it's time to leave and get on the plane and come home.
Oh, music. I literally can't wait. I'm so excited. And the problem we have always is, what do we leave out? Because there's just such we've got to do it in a way that everybody can absorb it and they don't get indigestion, because it's possible to.
Well, yeah, unlike most courses, we learn by our own mistakes and our own experiences, right? Everybody gets overwhelmed with such incredible information, and then you leave them lost in the enthusiasm, but not applying it or incorporating it into their existing modality. So our job will be to refrain ourselves from overwhelming them, but making sure they get as much as they can to make sure that they leave really positive and confident in what we've shared with them, and that they can share it tomorrow and really incorporate it into their work and raise the status of this work around Europe for us. Good.
Well, it's going to be around the world. I think we're having people arriving from beyond Europe borders. So thank you to those of you buying huge plane tickets. We can't wait to see you. Promise it'll be worth your while. And we'll just be generating an atmosphere that I like calling it an atmosphere with an elixir that we can bottle and take away with us. And we only need a drop every now and again, and it's there. And of course, the course gives everybody that over time. So I'm so excited, and it's such a joy, Paul. I love you to bits. Love work.
We're gonna have a good fun weekend, and we're gonna learn loads, share loads, and then we'll see how this movement pattern grows all around the world. I did have a reach out from one of our potential clients, and she wanted to come from New Zealand. I said, New Zealand all the way to Europe.
Well, we have somebody in New Zealand who's doing absolutely amazing. And we've got an Ironman contender that are fabulous. Talia Charleston has raised to somewhere in the top 10 in the world and doing Myofascial Magic in action. So we absolutely know it works. I cannot wait for Talia's podcast. And we've got more coming from lots of people in the course, because the work really is making a difference. And it really is different. It actually is different, right? It's got this magic ingredient in it. I really don't know what it is. And I know how we've come about getting it, but I can't describe it because it works uniquely for each person. It's magic.
It is literally magic. It's magic in a formula, if you like, but it's a magic serum. And it's taken a long time to create this hindsight so we can present it and give people foresight. Because invariably the problem is everybody works hard and lives hard until the body says, can I have a rest, please? Or it stops them in their tracks and then becomes dysfunctional and they have to deal with the ramifications of that. But if they just knew there was another approach to moving more healthily and retaining that longevity of choice that we all seek to attain, then life shouldn't be so difficult or uncomfortable for so long. So Myofascial Magic in action is having a huge influence on the instructors that have joined our course and others that are interested in taking up and finding out more about it. But don't be frightened. It's nothing too scary, but it is having such a profound influence on such a variety of modalities. And I always say, I don't teach repertoire, I teach physiology. And the more clear we can become about explaining what that means, the easier it is to introduce myofascial magic into everybody's work.
Well, I have a client and they're a 14-year-old potential Olympic swimmer and dealing with repetitive strain injuries from doing the thing that they love the most. And it's not about their ability. It's got nothing to do with it. It is purely about their micro movement training that facilitates the spirals and the rebounds off the wall and the strokes per length and the rotations in the water. And these are the minutiae that the forces involved are just not being managed well to optimize that age and stage of fitness. And at the other end of the scale, 85-year-old person with a broken foot, how do we rehab really, really quickly? And it works. And you're telling me how you're dancing with her.
Well, that's true. But the point is, the classical approach to this is that we are parts and pieces of a linear structured thing. And what we really have to get across, and once people understand this and they experience it, it's like the curtains have been opened. Now they're not blinded anymore by conformity. They recognize that we're a tubular network that must glide within itself. And then that way, once you get that gliding, you don't have to tolerate the strains and pains of going in straight lines, because everything about the body, as we know, is round and moves within a round and moves on a round, and in a universe that is spiraling through the round. And if we can make sure that that is the echoing message in people's minds and ears, then movement changes very subtly, but has such a dramatic influence on their longevity of movement. And they don't keep hitting these walls of dysfunction.
Absolutely. And the performance. And what's so delightful, because of this podcast, because we were supposed to do it 3 weeks ago, we don't really need to now, but we've got just these last few places. And we are holding on to the discount that we can give you. So all of that's going to be in the show notes. Or if you've got any questions, write to me, Joanne Avison, on Instagram, DM me, or paul.s.thornley on Instagram, or Myofascial Magic in Action. You can find us info@myofascialmagic.com. Anyone with any questions, send them through to us. And we, as I say, we just last few places.
For those that are interested, reach out to us. For those that are coming, we'll see you there. We look forward to it. See you in a month.
And if not, go on our mailing list and hear about the next one that we're doing. Lots of love.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.